Recording is on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the January 10th, 2022 DXbiz weekly call. Uh, we've got a handful of things on the agenda, but we can talk about whatever as well. We have a couple, Colin and Daiwat from Developer DAO, who are going to give a kind of an overview for the first 15 or 20 minutes, and then learning about Developer DAO and some of the examples, other projects they've worked with, and how it kind of works, how it could help DXDAO, um, and then maybe some open questions there. Then we have plans to kind of dive a little deeper into Carrot. There's a forum post just to start discussion around some what we've learned from the DXDAO swapper carrot campaigns and what we can do moving forward, and maybe some come up with some concrete things to take for next steps. Also related to carrot, there was we we should probably do kind of a look back also at how usage of carrot, and I think a couple things were confusing there and maybe went wrong, but how to get that fixed, get that in place, and move forward with that as well. Then we can talk a little bit about Initiative DAO. We're using DWork, which is a project that actually presented on this call last week or the week before, and we're going to actually use DWork, and it fits in really well for managing like tasks and paying out small little bounties for something like Initiative DAO. And if it works well there, we could probably use it for other use cases as well. Um, we DX Denver or DX events, kind of DX ETH Denver is like the upcoming event. It's like about a month away now. Melanie just posted something about kind of stipends for attendees, contributor attendees, and then we still have an event that we're planning, and then some ideas around merch because we're a sponsor and we have a table and things. So we need to make sure we have everything. We're a month ahead, so we want to make sure we have everything going in the right direction as we approach that date. Um, and then the same kind of three topics on DX Ventures, which we can talk about the current status of those. The most interesting new thing is Atlantis World proposal is up, but there's also a idea to use Carrot as part of it, which is cool. So we can kind of dive into that as well. But to start, I would like to welcome Daiwat and Colin from Developer DAO. I believe Nathan reached out to you both, and it would be great if you could kind of give an overview. I don't think most people here are familiar with Developer DAO, but love the idea of service DAOs. I don't know if that's what you consider yourself, but there's lots of different DAOs forming for so many different things these days, and big believer of like DAOs that can help different communities, and so kind of you don't just have to have a developer DAO just for your own DAO. You can have a developer DAO that can spread across lots of different DAOs, and it also is a great way to spread knowledge and information across those communities as well. So if you guys could give an overview, and then maybe we'll save some time for questions at the end, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks, Kai. So Developer DAO actually started as a little experiment from Nader. You might know him from Twitter. But then a lot of developers just joined, and we had something on our hands. We had to make it work. So so the mission of the Developer DAO is to accelerate the education and impact of a new wave of Web3 builders. So it's really focused on developers, like the name suggests. Um so one of our two of our biggest goals are to onboard, educate, and support Web3 devs, while also fostering and building Web3 tools. Um, So the DAO has been around for a few months now. I guess around 3 to 4 months. We are currently in our season 0. We have some mission values and goals defined. Um, like Nathan discussed with me, we have partnership with the Gitcoin DAO in place. Um, so yeah, Colin, do you want to give a different perspective? Maybe I'm trying to like give a dev's perspective. Maybe you can give a different perspective.
Sure. So, um, it sounds like some of your team is based in Denver. Or are you guys just going to East Denver?
No one is based in Denver, but we have a handful of contributors that will be going to ETH Denver, and we've been going to a bunch of the key Ethereum events the last year or so since things opened up. Yeah.
Cool. I am based in Denver, so hopefully I can run into you all at ETH Denver.
Great.
So I am the editor for the Developer DAO newsletter, and I've been managing some of the partnerships, groups that have been interested in sponsorship. And I think that what folks are seeing in the organization is that there are a lot of people attracted to Developer DAO who aren't just interested in learning Web3 or dipping their toes in the water, but they're really ambitious builders. And so the DAO is, as Dawat kind of alluded to, focused on building public goods for Web3. And that's giving us a great outlet to give people the opportunity to demonstrate their competency. And we're also working to develop some more formal pathways for earning credentials or earning ways for the people can kind of show that they've done the work and are able to jump into blockchain projects and be really active contributors. So I think we've got Protocol Labs, Streamer, Kepler, Radical, a lot of pretty big names that have popped up in Web3 to partner with the DAO because they see us as a pipeline for not just Web3 talent, but people who are eager and ambitious and who are going to be able to help them advance the projects that they're working on. So if that is something that DXDAO is interested in, I think that there's probably a good opportunity for partnership there.
Cool. So I don't know too much about it, but it sounds like bringing in new people to Web3, whether that's Web2 people into Web3, maybe younger people, like there's a mission to like make this a easy place for new entrants to come into the space. And so when you say supporting Developer DAO, is that these larger projects who realize the importance of that are kind of giving grants or money to Developer DAO that will help that process, and then people are learning from that, and then also if one of these community sponsorships or whatever or participants has like actual real needs, what's like certain bounties or projects or things, like there are people in Developer DAO that would be willing to take a shot to work on those, or Developer DAO kind of. Yeah.
Just about all of that is true. I mean, there are, I think, some cases that have floated about where something might be adopted as like an official Developer DAO project. But as I'm sure all of you are pretty familiar with DAO culture, it kind of tends to be one of those things where someone decides to be the champion within the DAO, and then other people kind of end up migrating over to the cause over time. And as far as like what partnership looks like, yeah, it's groups that are looking to advertise, trying to bring people into their organization or to use their services, and grants is one way that they're doing that, but also sometimes offering like discounts or services or infrastructure. Like there's a number of Web3 infrastructure companies that have come through and said, hey, we're going to make sure that developer DAO members have, some sort of access to the services that they're offering because they want people to be building products on their tools. So there's a number of different ways that we're doing partnership. And I have to admit, I don't know enough about DXDAO to really be proactive in suggesting what that might look like. So I'm eager to know more.
Yeah. Well, that overall idea that you're describing is something that DXDAO also believes in, and we're we have resources like most DAOs. We have lots of resources, and we're always looking for new developers and good developers and senior developers. If in general, I think, and maybe someone from the dev side could talk like more specifically to this, but like very new developers, it's very hard for like Web3 developers that come just into the space on day one start like figuring out how to contribute to DAOs, partly because most DAOs are pretty flat, right? And there's not like someone that's specifically assigning individual tasks. Now, not to say that doesn't happen, but if we can help support this cause and also get DXDAO and the things that we are working on and the things we need help with into that community, that's a win-win for both sides, I think. So these big projects that you mentioned, like supporting developer DAO, have they given specific grants and things, or are they just becoming a part and participating in developer DAO community for now? Like what would DXDAO? Well, you said so DXDAO in general is a pretty decentralization forward DAO. Like most things are on chain. We have different chains. We're building a suite of DeFi products. We have had to like put a few of our products kind of on the side to focus on just like 3 of the 6, mainly because we are lacking developer resources. And so we've prioritized the most important ones. And so we could bring on people to help those teams, but then as that grows, people could also start to work on the contribute to the products that are kind of on the sideline right now as well. So there's lots of room for new contributors for sure.
Sure. So I think in the short term, there are some things like the hackathon that'll be leading into our first virtual event that's going to happen the first week of March. And so, sponsoring the hackathon, putting out a bounty or something like that for one of the hackathon teams to go after might be a good way to maybe get started and dangle some low-hanging fruit in front of our membership. Looking a little bit further out, maybe a few months into the future, setting up grants, advertising some of the opportunities that you're looking to recruit developers to in in our newsletter, or just in a we're putting together a model for like season sponsorship where you would get newsletter sponsorship, sponsored tweets, participation in the events, that kind of thing. That would be a good way to make sure that your organization and the projects that you're working on are front and center for developer DAO members.
Gotcha. And how big would you say the developer DAO member community is, or the kind of the devs that are part of this?
Yeah, well, so right now there were some 7,000 developer DAO tokens that were minted. But as far as like active membership, I'd say there's probably a few hundred people that are really active day to day in the DAO. But then as far as like our reach, the Twitter account has tens of thousands of followers. The newsletter has some preposterous like 60% open rate for 3,000 users on the list, and then also gets distribution through the other social media channels. So it's not enormous yet, but the other thing to keep in mind is that the ERC20, the code token, is dropping probably by like end of this month, beginning of next month. And that's when we're really expecting the membership to grow pretty rapidly, because up to this point, it's just been a matter of kind of keeping things close to the chest while we're working with the NFT gated membership to get season 0 going. So, yeah, so right now I would say, you're probably tapping into, like I said, hundreds day to day to a few thousand on a weekly basis that are really engaged. And then over the next few weeks, that's going to grow quite a bit when the ERC20 token is released.
Yeah, adding to what Colin just said, like he said, the Twitter account has like 40,000 followers almost, and since the membership is closed right now, literally under every single tweet, there are people saying that they want to join so desperately. So when the token launches, the ERC20 token, I believe the membership might even double instantly.
Cool. I think so. Yeah, maybe some of the devs within DXDAO might have some questions, but now that we are aware of this, I think some of the devs might, have a chance to kind of dive in or spend some more time in the developer DAO community to learn, see kind of what's happening, and then how DXDAO could actually participate and contribute value to it, and then also support and maybe find resources out of it, which would
So to that end, what I would recommend for now is, if you have a few people that are interested in really diving in, you can always pick up one of the D4R tokens off of secondary, just on OpenSea or wherever, and that'll get you access to the Discord. I can also set you up with a partnership channel in our marketing and biz dev guild. So all I would need is for whoever's interested to join the Discord, and you can do that with or without an NFT. And then if you want to send me your Discord handle, then I can give you access to to that specific DXDAO partnership channel, where we can kind of discuss these opportunities on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, great. Sounds interesting. And so this Discord link that I just shared is the general Discord. And then so like the token that you said, the NFT token is for like the certain access protected channels mainly.
Right. So the D4R token will get you access to the entire Discord, and then if someone from your organization was interested in like what's going on within the guilds or that kind of thing, you'd be able to join the guilds and go dive into those conversations, participate in town halls, that kind of thing. But with or without that, we can make sure that we have a partnership channel set up for you within the Biz Dev Guild, and at least that way, as things come up, we have a channel for conversation in a place where everyone's hanging out during their workday, anyways.
Great. All right, we'll do that.
Great. Hi, Nathan here. I'm sorry for being late. I was held up at another call. Thanks for joining, Colin and Deva. Have you had time to share a bit more about your partnership with Gitcoin?
I don't think we've touched the Gitcoin partnership a lot. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and share a few details about it. So the partnership was mainly created because the values of both the DAOs are extremely aligned. The Gitcoin DAO is one of the focuses of the Gitcoin DAO is public goods and building Web3 tools, also for public goods, and that kind of aligns really well with what developer DAO wants to do in the future, is to do lots of stuff for public goods and educate Web3 devs. And that the education part really goes along well with what Gitcoin does as a platform. So that's kind of the reason why the partnership was so easy to, it was so obvious to not be there. Um, so it's basically going to be like an exchange of tokens. I guess Gitcoin is going to receive like 5% of the new dollar code tokens that we are going to be launching, the ERC20. And in exchange for that, developer DAO will receive some amount of GTC from the Gitcoin DAO. Yeah, I guess that's basically it. Colin, do you want to add anything? Oh, I guess Colin. Yeah, I guess Colin is not here anymore.
Sorry, I am. I'm just in between things. I heard most of what you were saying there. Well, I missed the last prompt though.
Yeah. So I just said that. Do you have anything else to add to this?
As far as the Gitcoin partnership and the interest in building public goods and alignment there, I think that you covered that pretty well.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to find the link to the proposal. That forum post has a lot of details about the entire partnership.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I think we'll have, let's set up those communication channels, and then some DXDAO contributors can spend some more time diving into it, and we can come up with some ideas, and read about this partnership and see if something like that makes sense. But super excited to hear about Developer DAO. I think it could kind of evolve in so many different ways, and obviously upcoming token gets excitement as well. So cool to connect with you guys.
Yeah, one thing I would want to add before we wrap up is that the conference coming up first week of March would be a great way for you all to get familiar with our organization, but also to share what DXDAO does and why it's exciting with our membership. That could be as a speaker or just as participants in the conference. It's a virtual conference happening on GatherTown, so kind of looks like walking around an old school Zelda game, and then you can kind of walk into live voice conversations and some of the live talks. But if you'd be interested in giving a presentation or hosting a workshop or anything like that, I am coordinating those as well. So if you want to just get that conversation started, then I'm happy to get you guys involved with Web3Con.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic, Colin. Let's keep in touch.
And we'll be good to connect in Denver as well. I think we met at MCon actually, so I'm planning to be at ETH Denver. Maybe I'll see you guys there, or a bunch of us will be there as well.
Great, thanks guys. You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the call, or feel free to hop. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks, guys.
Great to meet you all. Looking forward to working with you. And here I'll just drop my email in the chat, because that might be the easiest way for folks to send Discord handles and that kind of thing.
Cool.
Nathan, all right, thanks for having us.
You have a chat with them too? I'm assuming you do. Okay, great.
Yeah, awesome. We've been liaising mostly in Twitter, but we can move it to a group chat in Discord.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. So next up on the agenda, I think we can talk about Carrot. So yeah, just this morning published the draft that came up with for kind of a look at the two campaigns that DXDAO did with Carrot, and tried to put some data and some observations. There's lots of moving parts, so it's a little tricky to always like pinpoint what is driving what. Like one interesting discussion as part of this is DXDAO was incentivizing, TVL in one specific pair on XDAI, right? And so that pair has liquidity on a few different chains, right? It has mainnet, Arbitrum, and XDAI. And so what's interesting is we specifically chose to just look at a specific chain, a pair on a specific chain, when maybe, and there's obstacles. Obviously, Arbitrum has this 7-day withdrawal period. There's big costs to moving tokens across these chains. Arbitrum to mainnet to XDAI is like extra expensive. Doing one hop is already bad enough. And so there's a lot of like obstacles in this. One simple observation is that we could theoretically, for a certain pair, look at that pair on all 3 chains and still incentivize the total TVL of that pair of all 3 chains added up together, and still only give out the carrot tokens on, for example, XDAI. And so instead of having to bridge over tokens and then people have to bridge them back for redeeming them and things, we could just drive incentive on a certain pair, but across multiple chains while doing all of the incentivization on XDAI. So maybe that could be a good next version of a TVL pair, carrot. The other thing would be to like do this on a wider scale. So a number of pairs together, or TVL on Swapper in total, or across all 3 chains combined. And so have like a much larger picture of incentivization rather than a very focused, specific one-off pair on one chain. That's like one example of an observation. So there's a couple different kind of data observations, so I don't know. People probably didn't get a chance to read the forum post just yet, but there was a draft kind of circulating around in the carrot channels. And so I think it's important in general for DXDAO to actually do a next step, right? And so we have a few things with carrot that we need to sort out in terms of like who's can create campaigns, how exactly to do it, make sure it's correct, make sure that it's clear how it's being used and how they're being settled and things like that. But I think we need to, we should have a goal in the next week or two to actually come up with like the next campaigns that we want to experiment with, given the learnings that we've seen. And we can try some new crazy things, or we can try like an airdrop of carrot tokens to a community. But we should do something dog fooding it for DXDAO, and then separately we also need to dive into how to make it work for like third party example, like Agave did a campaign with it, and a few things kind of got mixed up. And so we want to make sure that we can move forward with carrot for their use case as well. We need to make sure that we can actually use carrot the way that it's meant to be used before we can start making it more widespread, I think. And so that's kind of the summary of the post. If anyone has any other kind of new ideas or observations that they'd like to bring up, would be a good time.
There were some discussions on, I think, calls, I forget, maybe last week, that may be worth kind of touching on again. I think, Sky, you were saying some of this stuff, and I was making some similar observations about how, it feels like with some of these campaigns, we've probably succeeded already in kind of protecting the downside for the project. But if the campaigns don't, like, what the project really wants is to achieve the goals, right? And so I think there's a little bit of concern in my mind that because it takes kind of widespread involvement in order to reach goals, that at the individual level, people are getting discouraged or aren't willing to take that leap into a campaign on their own when it's uncertain whether the current campaign will meet its goals. And so we were talking a bit about how there might be some opportunity on that end to further coordination around carrot campaigns. Like maybe there's actually a missing piece there. And I think Sky was talking about potentially using DAOs. He brought up how DAO House has these LP DAOs that kind of do something along those lines already. And I was thinking from a little bit different angle about how we could maybe leverage, at least for the ones that are using Swapper DIY farming, leverage some of the features there, like the capped campaigns or the capped and locked campaigns, or maybe even adding another tweak to the capped locked campaigns, where with locked campaigns, you could have a lower threshold that needs to be met before they actually get locked. So it's a little easier to take that first step. So like, basically, to summarize, like talking about ways to set up incentives so that individuals are willing to dip their toe in even before the kind of larger coordination gathers steam, or to coordinate a bunch of individuals like through a DAO or some organization.
Yeah, that is a good, important topic. I think that this is the tragedy of the commons. I think that is always an additional like positive coordination mechanism. I'm wondering if we can, that seems like something that we should also explore, but do you think it's worth trying some? I mean, we've only done 2 campaigns, right? We did a price one, which we realized like didn't really work that well in a falling price environment. And then we did a TVL, which paid out something in a range. And so right away, I'm like, okay, a range is at least better than a binary carrot, is my opinion, right? And targeting a price of something in an environment where, the market moves where it wants to. And if ETH goes down, like the price of all tokens also go down. Like unless you got an entire community together, like using a DAO or something to drive a price, then I agree that price is not a great thing to focus on. TVL seems more interesting. And so we can but there's a lot of work. Like it would be awesome if we could use DX Vote for coordinating a community to achieve a goal around carrot tokens. But I think that that's going to be a whole bunch of extra work to like do that. Should we try to move forward with some like immediate carrot campaigns with a slightly different structure, or it's more widespread rather than one specific pair on one chain? Do we think it's okay to proceed with just like a new variation rather than only do it if we have like a DAO coordination mechanism also?
No, I absolutely, like I was just trying to add like kind of additional food for thought to what you were saying. Completely agree with everything you had said before, and think we should definitely keep moving and keep experimenting with the tools that we have today.
Yeah.
Like one of the things we could do in a next dog fooding campaign is to combine carrots with a locked campaign or a capped and locked campaign to try to create a little bit or play around with some of those other kind of mechanisms, right? Do we create some FOMO by capping the size and maybe lock it on top of that? Yeah, but yeah, definitely think we should keep playing around, and we're just kind of starting to understand what we're even working with. So
yeah, and Ross is mentioning spinning up a guild for something like that. Coordination makes a lot of sense for those participants. It would be awesome if that was all kind of like interconnected into the carrot like ecosystem, but it can operate separately. but I don't know if we're ready for that type of guild just yet. But totally.
Yeah, we're not ready right now, but it's something we can explore soon-ish.
Cool. Yeah, and so then maybe. Oh yeah, go ahead, Powers.
Well, I was just going to kind of make a general comment about the carrot campaigns. Thanks for writing that up, Sky. It's good to kind of talk about it and put that in the forum. I think it's really cool that the one campaign did pay out and kind of paid out, I guess, I don't know if it's at a conditional rate, but like at like 31% of that. So that's kind of a cool thing that did happen. In addition to thinking about what type of products we can offer, like what types of like conditions the carrots campaigns will actually be based on, I think we could also think about the like distribution strategy of that. So right now we're really doing farming of carrot tokens, but I wonder if it would make like we could ever think about doing like an airdrop of a carrot token to specific addresses. So that would be more of like a targeted campaign, almost like the vampire attack style way. But that could be a way of motivating people to do something specific. I was actually even thinking, the reason it came up is I was thinking it would even make sense to, if we were thinking about DXD liquidity and how much is on Arbitrum, like if we gave a carrot campaign to DXD WETH LPs on Arbitrum that paid out if there was a certain TVL on mainnet, because then that would like incentivize them to actually move their liquidity from one pool to the other. But I think you could use that kind of same mindset for almost any pool. So it would be less about like the farming feature and more about like the conditional part of that. And I guess we would have to, that would be like a whole airdrop function that would be like different from that. But I think the distribution of carrot tokens is like could almost be just as innovative as the actual like product design or carrot campaign itself.
So so that example you just gave where you're like incentivizing Arbitrum LPs to like bring liquidity over to mainnet, that makes sense if like that's something we actually truly want. We don't even know if we'd have to come up with why we would want something like that to happen. But the other thing you're saying is just for marketing purposes, we could, the way we gave Swapper away to communities, if it's on XDAI, even if it's not giant amounts, if all of a sudden there's like 1,000 wallets that we know do stuff on XDAI or do stuff are active, they all of a sudden have these carrot tokens and they're like, wait, what's that? And if it was on mainnet, like most airdrops, if it's only $200, you're like, well, this sucks because the gas is too expensive. But if it's on XDAI, even if it's some $200 amount or whatever for a certain condition, I think it's a great way to get the idea of carrot at least out there as well. So coming up with those communities could be, or those wallets would be a good next step. In this article, there was an idea of using an airdrop use case, which I think we should do. The simple example was to come up with some condition to airdrop carrot tokens to anyone that just participated with carrot, and we can expand that to more DXD community or POAP holders or whatever, but people that were actually participating in carrot and maybe didn't have a great experience on Agave or didn't have a great experience with the Swapper price one, give them this kind of gift or like award for participating, but have it linked to some condition that if the whole community, if this does better, they will get some reward. So it's like a friendly gifting of carrots almost. Just coming up with who those recipients should be, like for the broader one, who do we want to know about carrot and how do we get it out into their communities? Because the minute we say, like we did with Bankless, like if we give it to only Bankless members, like we did with Swapper Token, like their communities are very happy to share that with their communities, and so we could we can all of a sudden reach wide communities with the idea of what Carrot is. But we want to make sure that when they come, they know what to do with the Carrot tokens, they have a good experience, that kind of thing.
It's also maybe worth here going over what went wrong with the Agave campaign as well too. I think it's probably appropriate that that's not covered. Well, I don't know whether it should be covered in the article or not, but I don't.
I think we should do a separate look at the Agave one. But all the little details, maybe if you want to summarize those here, and then we can try to formalize them and post them. That'd be good too. Because right now,
I think it's good for this group to kind of at least understand what they were, just so we're aware of them. And But Nathan, you were gonna say something.
Maybe to first start with what you just said about Agave is something we've mentioned in the past, that Carrot could be more efficient if the incentive came as a bonus on top of the regular rewards, so that it's not all or nothing. And I think this will be also addressed with an upgrade to allow for minimum rewards, so it's being taken care of. Not to turn it into a swapper discussion, but to Chris's point, there's great merit to what he mentioned, because we've talked about it in the past. There are LPs who have a lot of liquidity in other protocols on Arbitrum that are receiving fewer rewards than what we are giving for the same pools in Swapper. And we've been wondering, then what is the problem? Is it that they just don't know about us? Is it that they're not keen on farming our governance token? And this would be a great way to attract that crowd. If there is a pool in another protocol that is farming a fifth of the rewards that we're giving to LPs, but we still end up with like half of the liquidity, we could just airdrop carrots to those addresses. But then the question is, would airdropping serve the purpose of kind of like marketing the farms? Would airdropping the tokens really let them know of the farms we're conducting in Swapper, or should we still do something extra?
If a carrot drops in the woods and nobody hears it?
Yeah. Does it happen?
A carrot campaign. Yeah. I mean, that's a missing piece, right? It's like, how do people even know that a token's been airdropped to them? And we could do stuff on social media or whatever to try to get attention, but there's obviously no, it's not like you can just send an email to all the LPs on SushiSwap, right?
Yeah. Well, but the social, if we're doing that for certain communities and it's a positive thing, those communities will share with their communities that check your wallet, you have this carrot. If this incentive happens, it's worth X. They're all willing to share that. Well, not all of them. Sometimes it has to do with the token price or something. They don't want to share it, but generally we've learned that they will share it. Now, that doesn't capture 100% of their community, but it could capture a majority of their community, at least to be aware of it. I mean, it's free money.
That makes sense when there's this synergy. Yeah, I was thinking of the example of maybe Swapper wanting to take some TVL from like a SushiSwap or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then that's a problem. Okay.
Yeah. So should I just go over Agave campaign just so that we're all on the same page with how that kind of evolved happened? So the campaign that was created and done on Agave was to incentivize TVL for all of Agave. So there's just overall TVL. It was kicked off at the beginning of December. It was for, they were distributed during the month of December, but the metric, the condition, the question that was asked on reality.eth was, what will the average TVL be during the last week of December? So they paid out based on kind of the average numbers calculated from the last week, even though they were distributed through farming through the whole month. That alone is kind of an interesting thing to observe, right? That the creators of these campaigns can create different dynamics based on the time frame of the question versus the time frame of the distribution, or how the distribution is done. Kind of like Powers was saying, right? I think the distribution is its own dimension of this, right? Like, and that's sort of up to whoever's creating the campaigns, although we can potentially create tools to assist there, but kind of up to the campaign, whether they airdrop, they farm it on their own UI, they leverage Swapper to farm it. You could even sell, you could imagine selling them. And maybe there's other ways we haven't imagined yet. So that's one interesting point. The range that they used was 3 million to, I think, 10 million TVL. So one thing that happened, kind of like what we saw with the swap price, is TVL actually just declined. And so the campaign was not successful in that sense. Part of what maybe affected them was the merger with Stake and converting to GNO, because they had Stake as one of their tokens. And obviously people were incentivized to convert that to GNO, and I think they just added GNO. So that may have been actually a negative factor in the success of reaching the goals of the campaign. But on the other hand, right, like the whole point of Carrot is, well, one of the points is to protect the projects from the downside. So in that sense, it would have been successful, except there was a couple of issues with how the campaign was created, which caused problems. So, there was one issue with how the campaign was created, and then there was another issue with how Carrot works that wasn't well understood before using the campaign. So I'll go over the first one with how it was created, and this had to do with the units set for the range. I think integers were used, which is fine from the Carrot perspective, as long as the Oracle were actually feeding the integers in. But apparently, like the reality.eth UI, if I understand this correctly, will take your inputs and convert them to Way, and then that's what gets registered on chain, right? So you had a campaign that was created with just regular integers, but then reality.eth was reporting the Way values. So you actually had the wrong values registered from the Oracle. And what that effectively meant is that since reality was reporting Way and the Carrot campaign was expecting integers, the reported numbers was like many orders of magnitude greater than what it should have been, meaning that the max value was actually paid out. Well, for those who had claimed their Carrot tokens from the Agave UI, they were actually able to claim the maximum amount. So for the farmers who did do that, I think the payout was actually quite good because, because the TVL when they were farming was actually below the target, but the campaign ended up paying out above the target. So one important technical detail there that, it should have been in Way when the campaign was created. That's, I think, part of the blame for that on myself and the rest of us at DXDAO. But, there was, I would say, like a lack of communication when setting this up. Like the Agave team kind of went ahead and just kind of did it with some questions to us and stuff, but we didn't really have a sit down meeting, which I would advise for any future campaigns, right? If we're working with another team in the future, lesson learned here is like, let's sit down and kind of go over everything up front. And now we're aware that it needs to be in Way as well, right? And the other issue that they had was, and this again probably could have maybe been uncovered if we had communicated it a little better up front, but one of the cool things that Agave was doing is they're actually farming symmetric token with the reward collateral, right? So in the Carrot campaign, they used symmetric pool tokens. Symmetric is a balancer fork on xDAI/Gnosis chain. And so by using these pool tokens as the reward collateral in the Carrot campaign, they were getting a couple of benefits. One, they were able to provide multiple tokens, in this case just 2, as rewards, even though Carrot only supports locking up 1 in the current version. So they were able to distribute stake and Agave tokens together through the pool token. And additionally, they were hoping that they would be able to farm the symmetric tokens, right? So that would be nice because it's giving this extra APY yield to the Agave treasury. The problem, though, there is the way Symmetric does its distributions is it's airdropping the tokens to the LP holders. And in this case, that was the actual Carrot campaign address. And the Carrot campaigns are not supporting kind of withdrawal of other ERC20 tokens to the creator. So those rewards that were earned by that reward collateral in December were lost, right? So a little bit of like loss of funds there, not of the underlying collateral, but of the rewards that it was earning. And Sky is posted this link to a PR from Luigi on the Carrot GitHub, and yeah, this is actually addressing that problem, as well as adding another feature which is kind of interesting, which is a minimum payout. We could talk about that too, but that wasn't really a problem. It's just a feature that Luigi thinks is a good one to have.
Yeah, thanks for that recap, John. It sounds like there's a lot of things there. They all like came up for certain reasons. Big picture, like Carrot campaign creation is like just a big issue right now. Like, we don't really want people doing it on their own. It's the front end is pretty much controlled by one or two people for safety reasons. This is not a permissionless system. Maybe one day it will be, but like Carrot campaign creation is very difficult and only a few people can do it in terms of the knowledge, but then, and also access. And so understanding like how exactly to do that and like who should do it or who to even let know about it is like an open question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is why it's an alpha too, right? And I think this is good that we're learning these lessons and surfacing them here. And I don't think the takeaway shouldn't be to be scared, right? Like, I think we just, let's make sure that we're actually having a meeting up front if we're working with another team. I think that's the main lesson. Yeah.
The other one thing though, like if you look at the Swapper TVL campaign and you like go to Carrot and you look at that, it says on the Carrot front end that like, participants are going to get 31% of the collateral that was locked up. But I personally could not find how to discover like what the outcome of the campaign was, like what the reality ETH outcome was. I couldn't even find the actual reality.eth like question in reality.eth. Reality.eth seems to have some odd way that orders and hides questions that are within its system. It's quite a confusing interface if you go to reality.eth. So it is nice that we are using that. We use that for Omen, but it's very not friendly and the data is not feeding into Carrot. So it's very hard. Like I don't know. Can someone like I don't know how you find out what the actual settlement price is for the Carrot campaigns, either in Carrot or another.
I think that's like an issue we should create in the GitHub here, is to make sure that it's properly linking to the reality campaign. Even I think it was, right, but it's not linking after resolution. Is that the issue?
Couldn't find it anywhere. Like maybe it's after resolution and there's like something pulling in, but it doesn't even show what's pulling in. It's just saying it's doing a calculation and saying, okay, this TVL Carrot is paying out 31% of the collateral. That's all it says basically. So
yeah, I think it should link to the actual reality thing through the UI, and that could be an issue that we add. I know the reality ETH, I've had issues finding questions there before, and there's a couple of drop downs at the top that may have. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, we don't have to discover that right now, but like we should keep in mind that isn't important. Like the actual answer is an important thing. So how you go discover that and how you display the answer, like Omen does it quite well, and so mirroring maybe how Omen does it is as could be a good answer. But yeah, we're getting to the top of the hour here. Lots of things we can do with Carrot. Lots of, yeah, we should do a post about Agave. I mean, it's really unfortunate. Like Carrot didn't do what it was supposed to do for Agave. Agave, you know, I think if we corrected it all, they'll continue to experiment with it. There's all these people now that hold these Carrot tokens, and I think, yeah, they're supposed to go and claim them, even though they probably think that they're worthless, but they're actually worth something. And so that's like another communication confusing.
Yeah, so the Agave carrots are actually worth more than they should have been. Like they should have been worthless, but they're actually worth
the full amount,
the maximum amount, which I mean, and then TVL was even below the lower end. So they're actually quite good, I think, for the people who claimed it. But yeah, you can no longer claim it from the UI if you had it. But if you had taken the carrots, you can go to the carrot UI and then.
But why can you no longer claim them? That was turned off.
That was turned off by the Agave team, yeah. So I don't think you can still get them, but if you did get them, they are worth something. So that's one, yeah, that's one thing. For the swapper price, those are
but John, if they turn that off, the collateral that's locked in Carrot, is that just stuck there? Like there's real money in Carrot.
So the collateral is they cannot. Let's see. So typically how Carrot works is if the goal is not met, then the project that locked up the reward collateral gets it back, right? So that's what should have happened in this case because the goal wasn't actually met, but because it was misconfigured, Reality was reporting a very high number, and so from the Carrot perspective, the goal was met. So only the collateral can only be taken out of that Carrot campaign by people redeeming carrots. So if you have the carrots, you can go and get the reward collateral. I think.
So why is it turned off then? Why would they turn off people from claiming it?
So I think what happened with the Agave is they were able to take the carrots that were not redeemed out of the distributor. We should check with them because I don't want to speak for them on that, but I think that is what happened from what I was looking at.
Out of the Carrot distributor?
So they were distributing the carrots through Agave, right? Like, and so in the UI, you would click like claim reward or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They have some smart contract that handles that claim, right? Mm-hmm. And they had put the carrots into that contract, right? So they were coming out of that to the farmers.
So they took their carrots back then.
I think they took any, which I mean, I think they're justified in doing, right? Although some people maybe would disagree, right? But the goal wasn't met, so the carrots should have been worthless. They weren't if you had them. They actually are worth something. So I think what Agave did is they kind of just claimed all the carrots out that hadn't been claimed yet to get the money back. We should check with them though, because they haven't said that anywhere.
Okay, so if they did that, then they will at some point redeem all of the carrots in the Carrot themselves.
So yeah, I mean, I think
the money can be removed.
The good thing is the money, the only funds that, well, there are a couple of things here, right? But the reward collateral wasn't locked up or lost, right? Like the carrots can go get the reward collateral. It just was supposed to go back to the project instead of going to the Carrot holders.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little confusing. Yeah. There's complexities that have to do with, Agave itself and how they did it. It's a little bit of a bummer, but I don't think we should be too discouraged here. Like that's, part of it is Agave went ahead and did these things, right? Some of it without even kind of like stopping to ask us about it. So it's not great, but I don't think it should discourage us from working with other teams because we can cover these things up front.
Yep. Okay. We'll continue with that. So yeah, we're at the top of the hour. These last few things, well, yeah, I guess the last one I'll mention is Initiative DAO. There's a link in the agenda here. There's 2 examples of using the Initiative DAO for some marketing and educational things. Those are 2 examples of how community members can post an initiative that they want to take advantage of. And so check out DWork, become part of the DXDAO DWork instance. And then if you have ideas from the community, post them there. And there's a process. And so it's a cool way to use DWork, and it fits the Initiative DAO really well. And so if it's successful, we could use it for other things as well. And then ETH Denver, yeah, cool to hear that the developer DAO will be there. There's going to be lots of different communities there. We're having an event. We can invite all these people to our DXDAO and Friends event, and then we're a sponsor, so we're hopefully there's a bunch of ideas for merch going around. We need to get that made quickly if they're made in China, because it's China's Happy New Year that comes up, or Chinese New Year. So we need to make sure we get the merch that we need going so that we have it in Denver. And then lastly, Atlantis World, there should be a proposal up on DXVote. And there's also a piece related to Carrot. And so we need to come up with, that can be in another immediate Carrot creation that we could deliver to them. And we just need to figure out how to settle. I don't know if it would be smart for reality.eth to be the oracle for that type of incentivized Carrot campaign where there's like very specific deliverables, or if there should be some kind of more general oracle, or it could be DXDAO itself or rep holders, or ideally some third party, I guess. But we need to figure out how to create that Carrot campaign. But that's another cool use case of Carrot. So anyway, that's a summary today. We talked about a few things. We're at the past time, so we'll call it here. But thanks everyone for coming.
Just a last word. We had a meeting with Ethereum Swarm earlier, and we have interesting good news. They seem to be very keen on using DXVote to form a DAO. They, just as we see DXDAO as the DAO of DAOs, and Gnosis Chain is seen as the chain of DAOs, Ethereum Swarm see themselves as the data layer of DAOs. It's a peer-to-peer network with nodes for decentralized data infrastructure. They kind of see themselves as the base layer for the decentralized data storage of DAOs. They are very excited for 2022 as the year of the DAOs, and they wish to partner with DXDAO to leverage our DAO infrastructure. So we're going to be scheduling a follow-up call for next week. They'll invite more team members on their side, and I would like to have quite a few of you as well, if possible, to attend. They wish to also cater to NFT DAOs. We mentioned to them our work with Profolio, Karma, and they're extremely excited. So we should make the best of it. And they're also sponsoring a hackathon. That will be a virtual hackathon, and they are happy to partner with us, and we could set up bounties for developers to build solutions with our governance framework, and they could match those bounties and grants. So there's great potential for us to explore in partnership with Ethereum Swarm.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Cool. Let's call it here, and thanks everyone for coming. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.